Just getting started on this replay review right here for CPX's Tracer. This was a couple hours ago in CCL this past Sunday. Oxygen versus Storm, and we're looking at CPX playing for Storm Esports. And so the thing right here, thank you for the congrats, by the way, friends. The thing right here that we need to know is the Tracer is the very, very last pick. And Justin is going to talk about some of the reasons why he suspects that it's going to be a Tracer, and is going to bring up some of those after the Tracer pick is confirmed. And I just want to let those play out, and then we're going to talk about those and watch the replay. So let's see right here.
Not too much gapping. Oh, May. Okay, it's kind of absorbed that big stun front
Let's
line.
take off this big "we are in queue" thing.
Global though, just.
And I believe, hold on, I may have to change my title really quick. Actually, I think I'm good. Okay.
For the side of Oxygen.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I kind of think a Tracer might be the pick for CPX here. I don't really understand the triple global on BOE. It does seem pretty weird. It's definitely not the normal thing to do.
I think part of the Tracer recommendation is just comfort, but I also think it's a really good Tracer situation in general.
Likes Tracer a lot though, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they go with here.
I'm gonna go ahead and update my title here. GM Tracer reviewing CCL Tracer CPX. Yeah.
I think
find out.
It could.
There it is. Yeah.
It's a really good call, Justin. I absolutely agree. It plays into the CPX play style. It works well for the Immortal race. You have a lot of ability to dive into the backline, harass the Brightwing and the Hanzo. Things are looking really good for Storm. I'd be leaning.
Not 100% on what he was saying there. You're not really harassing Brightwing and Hanzo that much. If anything, you're harassing everyone else, in my opinion. Like, I think what Bahamut said was a little inverted. You're going to spend as much time as possible free hitting the Dahaka and the Mei. And whenever you can on the false stab, whenever he doesn't have his W up, is a really easy harassment target. Whereas these two are like your lowest priority to harass. Like, you can win trades against Hanzo while you have Bomb, and Brightwing, you can definitely bully her while she doesn't have Poly, but these are like the last two that I would usually expect to do damage on.
For them to win this Battlefield of Eternity map, but Justin, before we load in, I want to get your thoughts and even a prediction.
So I don't really understand Oxygen's.
I love the stark difference in quality here. I'm just gonna take away my camera. You can see like just this huge quality difference between Bahamut, Grubby, and then Justing. These guys are at 4K over here, but regardless.
Idea what they're planning to do with the triple global here on BOE. It's not really the map that you typically see that. And on the side of Storm, I think getting Blaze, Anubarak 1-2 is kind of insane. They made it so that the enemy team can't have Blaze when you pick Anubarak. Anubarak doesn't like that kind of extra form of support that the bunker can provide. You want to cocoon and then go for a one-shot. So getting the Blaze and the Dahaka is really strong, especially when you have Dive on Tracer. And Tracer also pairs extremely well with the Malfurion. So I think overall, just Storm's composition looked...
He misspoke. Yeah, he said Blaze and the Dahaka, and I was like, hold on.
I would absolutely agree. Like, it's just Storm's looking phenomenal. Right?
Also pairs extremely well with the Malfurion. So I think overall...
Yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff that Justin was saying there. Like, just looking back at this draft really quick back right here. Malf Tracer is a super classic pairing. It goes back a super long way. Basically, Tracer just likes to be really far from the rest of her team, so she likes a support that's still able to heal her even when she's like super far away. And Malf does exactly that. You only need to be in range every time you need to refresh regrowth cast onto the Tracer. Otherwise, she can go be as far away as she wants. So they're a natural pairing. And then Malf typically wants to have usually some anti-burst on his team, some way to prevent his teammates from getting blown up. And then Blaze also does exactly that. So I think that this lineup just makes a lot of sense. Anubarak, Tracer, Li Ming. You have a shitload of single target burst, the ability to just blow someone up, and then that's going to generate resets for Li Ming. And then you have the natural healer, the Malf Tracer pairing right here. You have Malf paired with anti-burst over here. Overall, I think this draft makes a lot of sense for red side. And I really like the Tracer late game. The Tracer last pick, specifically into two frontliners that you just harass for free. Neither of these frontliners can basically ever kill you outside of a lucky tongue. You have a super squishy backline susceptible to someone that is sticky and can dive in false step. Hanzo is a little bit annoying. You can basically only trade with him when you have Bomb, and he is able to harass you from super far away. So I've seen a lot of Tracers, really, really good Tracers, that just get like wrecked by Hanzos. because they trade into Hanzo a lot, and I feel like that has a lot to do. He feels like when you're playing Hanzo into Tracer, it feels like a lot of a test on your individual positioning. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off alerts just while we're doing this review right here. If I could find it. There we go. Okay. Actually, no, it's fine. It's fine. We'll leave it on.
Storm, I'd be leaning.
So yeah, you free harass this front line, you dive the false stab. Hanzo can be a little annoying. Plenty of good tracers have hinted on Hanzo, but he's also really easy to kill when he gets dived. Brightwing is definitely the most annoying part. You basically can never gank. Like, the early game can be kind of awkward as Tracer on Battlefield, because basically the only two things you can do are just stay with the 4-man or gank offlane, and ganking the offlane is literally impossible into a team that has Dahaka Brightwing. So you basically are just sort of, you have to stay bottom the whole time with your team as the Tracer in this draft, but that's perfectly fine. I think that as long as you just don't dive while the Brightwing is nearby and has Polymorph, and you don't trade into the Hanzo unnecessarily, I think that if you combine those things, just looking at how synergistic this draft is on the right side, I think that it's a really good Tracer pick.
For them to win this Battlefield of Eternity map.
Okay. So now that we've gone over the draft and just talked about how I think that shakes out, let's actually go into the game itself. And we're going to look at Tracer's perspective. So where we're seeing the camera placement, where you're going to see little, like those, whenever he right clicks, you see those little green arrows pop up. That's where he's really clicking. And this is where he actually had his camera when he was playing the game. We have Invis Horse. I have banged him out. Oh no.
10 seconds.
I've done that an embarrassing amount of times. I think I've accidentally rode in on Invis Horse probably like 4 or 5 times during tourney games, because I just kept forgetting to change it for a long time. Okay. So I've watched about half of this game already, and I've seen the ending. And one thing that I noticed really starts to stick out in the early game with CPX's Tracer. I actually zoomed out a bit, so this is no longer CPX's exact perspective. But one thing I noticed a lot early game is that CPX just, like, isn't taking the free damage. Like, he isn't dealing out free damage that he totally could be. This enemy team, the way Tracer just typically works is you're usually allowed to just hit the enemy tank for free if they're standing up super far. Because the only way that their DPS would stop you from doing this is if their DPS was also overextended, and that's just not the case. But like, CPX spends a lot of the lane phase just sitting super far back, and like, you could be getting all this free damage on the red robot right here. But instead he kind of walks in, gets a couple auto attacks off, and then walks away. And like, again, he's still just super far back. Like, he should literally just be this repelling force on the Mei, where every time the Mei tries to step up as far up as she is, she's just getting a constant trickle of free damage from Tracer onto her health bar. But if you stand this far back, then Mei kind of gets to do whatever she wants. And that's, like, it sounds a little nitpicky, but I promise you, like, it's a difference of, like, thousands of hero damage already with how passive he's been. And also, notice that he has very little bomb charge for this fight. So he's probably not going to get bomb charge if they contest as early as he wants to. Wow, that was a really good aggressive tongue onto your Malfurion. So right here, CPX is going to go in on the Brightwing. Super good target focus. Really good stuff. You love to see it. And then the problem comes after. So up to this point, I think CPX has been playing fine. But he starts to just stand here and start eating a lot of free damage. And then, like, just like the number one rule of playing Tracer, in my opinion, is just don't stand next to other people, right? Like, standing next to your allies is usually a bad thing, and standing next to enemies is usually a bad thing. And CPX manages to run in this situation so that he can take damage from all 3 members of the enemy team, when at most 2 should be able to hit him, and realistically only 1 should be able to hit him at most, like if he's playing it right. So he ends up just going right into the middle of the enemy team and taking like way too much free damage, and I think that's where that problem started. But overall, it was still positive for his team. He definitely did not need to die, though, and then that would have made this camp even more effective. Yeah, I'm not really sure about the 3 globals either. I think that it had less to do with picking Falstad for the global. It more just, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if it's really easy to get consistently strong wind tunnels on this map. Like, Dahaka, like, think about it this way. The way I see it is that I could reasonably see how this enemy team is, this left side team is not drafted because it has 3 globals, but rather Brightwing is one of the strongest characters in the game. And you know that the enemy team really likes to play Tracer. Dahaka is overbuffed. Dahaka was already good and then got buffed. And then you just, I could reasonably believe that this is a comfort pick for Draded, especially with how he plays the Falstad this game. I could hella believe it's a comfort pick, and I could believe that Wind Tunnel is a pretty consistent level 20 win condition. And so then right here, red team just goes ahead, they take out all their camps, and then they want to make sure to take their bruisers right before first objective, exactly what they're supposed to do, good stuff. And then they just go straight to the race, and the other side goes for the race too. Basically, everybody's doing what they should. No problems here so far. Also, I will say, I've already seen the build that CPX goes this game, and I agree with everything except one pick. There's one pick of his, and it's the same mistake that I think Ghana Gunner made last time I reviewed Ghana Gunner's gameplay as well. But we'll get to that bridge. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. That's how the saying goes. Why was BBJ so far up? I'm just like struggling to see why the mouth was there. Hold on. Like, here's BBJ. He walks up to Lobber. Is he... Like, why? Oh, and then he gets scared by Dahaka. I see. And then now at this point, he's just running away from Dahaka. Yeah, that was a little sketch, but I understand how it happened. Okay, red side wins Immortal. After losing BBJ, not a huge deal. I'm sure most teams would make that trade in that situation. Yeah, see, like right there, notice how long it takes CPX to just start punishing the Mei who's just sitting there in damage range, just like begging to get punished, right? Like, look at this. So Mei's here, sitting way in front of her team, not getting damaged. And then she walks back up and isn't getting damaged. And then she stands here for a while. And CPX is just kind of dancing. And dancing. And then he finally goes in to damage her and shoves her back a little bit. Yeah, see, like, no, he doesn't push her back. And so she just starts taking free damage and misses her D for no reason. Like, this is what this whole game should be. Based on Red Robot's positioning, like, this guy should just be, like, inting his health bar constantly if he steps up that hard versus Tracer. Like, the way CPX is like treating Red Robot is like this is like a release variant that just has like insta kill pressure on the Tracer. It's so weird. And even if he was just far forward damaging the gate more, if you got a little bit more gate DPS, you could have like maybe threatened the healing fountain. I don't know, I feel like he spends a lot of time just standing too far back. So sub. I don't know about that, Ghost Dunk, but thank you for the 27 months sub. Appreciate you. Welcome back to the stack. Let's see. Right here, I think this was honestly a pretty well executed gank onto the Deathwing Dahaka. It's a Dahaka, and you're against the Brightwing, so it's like basically never gonna work. That's just how it is. It's like I said earlier in the draft. Tracer alone couldn't gank him, but the whole team really even couldn't gank that Dahaka Brightwing combo. Way too hard to turn that into a kill. At this point, they just want to be nearby this bottom camp, ready to threaten it whenever possible, constantly hunting for picks that would enable so. And Red Robot, again, is in inting positioning, and CPX is hugging his towers. I feel like CPX just assumes he shouldn't be attacking if he's not following up on a tank, which is... I get it from like a teamwork perspective, but it's missing a lot of free everything. Forgot Deathwing was in the game, so he was good. Okay, see, I love that he goes for the gate right there, though. Like, you absolutely, when you're playing Tracer, you want these gates gone whenever possible. Sometimes they're nice to have them as, like, little pulse bomb charge cookies or, like, lifesteal cookies or whatever that you get to come back to later. But just like I said before, Tracer is largely about not standing next to your teammates, and it makes it also easier to threaten that healing fountain. It makes it easier to space out in fights and sieges and chases and whatnot, and it makes it easier to threaten healing fountains. Right there, he blinked away from the Mei when he absolutely could have blinked down and just stayed DPSing her and continued to do free DPS. It's a consistent pattern so far. He's doing a good job hitting his locked and loadeds. I can hear them consistently. I can see the kickers going off. Again, he is so far back, dude. Like, if you see Brightwing over here, if you see Mei there, like, you should be fine to step up a little more. The only thing at that point that'll kill you is a Dahaka that you face check. Your anniversary of Deathwing already coming up? That's crazy, man. Not much to say here. They're just going back, clearing their camps. Ooh, good follow-up, good follow-up. Just watching this fight again one more time before I comment on it. It's really such a weird fight, like so much happening, so much emphasis. Okay, but no kills whatsoever. So let's go back and watch this. Overall, I think most of what he did was pretty understandable and like the right play. Come on. Okay. So we're approaching this fight right here. This is super good follow-up. You know, the Anubrak's going in. He's probably calling in comms to go on this guy. He times Sticky Bomb. Really, it's just as long as you see the Crystallize coming out. You know that if you press Bomb on them, that the slow will come out after. This is the major disagreement I have with CPX's build this game. Just first off, before we even get into the team fight, CPX picked Sticky Bomb into a team that has Brightwing, who has Magic Spit and Critical Mist. So this is literally the build where Sticky Bomb gives the enemy healer more healing if you're against a Brightwing that has this. I think that's just super troll on its own. And then you also have Mei, who has her own stasis, which removes the slow. You have Dahaka, who's able to dodge the bomb's explosion with Burrow. It seems really questionable to me. It's only ever going to consistently do something on maybe Hanzo Falstad, and even then that's a maybe. I think Sticky Bomb is a super troll pick this game, and I think normally I would recommend Pulse Rounds being the default in most games, but specifically in this one right here, like you are very much just trying to follow up on your team CC, and you are trying to convert burst kills for your team so that you get Li Ming chain resets, right? And so specifically with this, you're not really interested in going pulse rounds and getting bombs more often for more long-term mobility and self-heal. You're just trying to get burst kills. So if you're going to do that, this is a Quantum Spike game 100 times out of 100, in my opinion. Looking at the comps, knowing that this is a coordinated game, you just go Quantum Spike here because it directly plays into exactly what you are trying to do. So he recalls to dodge the ice wall right there, steps out of the blizzard over to the side of the fight, and then decides he wants to flank over to this left side right here, so he starts going down, blinks to get into position faster. So far, all this makes perfect sense. Starts free hitting Hanzo, and then Hanzo gets in Cocoon, and so now as Tracer, you get to do a lot of free damage without taking damage back. Just getting in bunkers is a super good play here, just gets a few pokes out with Q. And then now at the point you're free hitting Nasmus. You're free hitting Nasmus on the Dahaka right here, makes sense. And then Hanzo gets super low, CPX tries to go back in, but then gets immediately gusted. So far, I think he's played the fight perfectly fine. Then at that point, you get a little more free damage in on the Dahaka. This is where I think CPX makes a critical mistake. Again, like I said before, just standing on top of your team is pretty troll. if you go in like this and just sort of funnel into the same entrance that all your teammates are going in, this is either because you're about to go in on someone or because the tank is just standing like right here inting. The tank is really far back, so you're not free hitting the tank at all, and your team is not looking for a burst pick, and it's into an Immortal Stun. So all that ends up happening with CPX just walking in here trying to get something done is that he just eats a bunch of free damage for no reason. And that very much could have been avoided if he like waited on the side over here, if he started to flank this way, if he just, you know, like he could have waited for his team to see something, he could have approached from above. Then you maybe run the risk of Dahaka being there, but I still don't think walking in and being the face of the team right there on the front is the right thing to do. Like, I don't think that's the right thing to do. Why is he so late to rotate? Hold on. Wait, I have to see, like, I looked away, and I feel like he's just getting to the fight, like, super slowly. So right here, if you're gonna show up to help the Blaze... Yeah, you're helping Blaze getting pulse bomb charge. I think this makes perfect sense to be here. I just want to know what made him so late in rotating. Yeah, he just stuck around too late. But like, it's really just a nitpick. Doesn't mean much. You're good damage on the Dahaka while he doesn't have any kill pressure on you. He's already got tongue used. Super, super good kill pressure right there, or damage pressure. Yeah, that was really good. He took some damage, but honestly, that was a winning trade right there. Especially with more pulse bomb charge. Tapping really quick right when your teammate's just back seems a little unnecessary, but it does enable him to get this bot wave, so I'm not hating on it. That's really good pressure on the Hanzo right here. Ooh. I want to see if he could have avoided that ice wall. Yeah, like, why is he so late to the fight right here? Like, I get that he wanted to clear bot wave, but I think, again, it's just an example of late rotation. Like, 2 times where if he just rotated a little earlier, it would have been a lot more helpful. Because, like, right here, you want to be, like, over here, like, above the minions, ready to go as soon as possible. And you're, like, mounting up as the last minions are dying. All, like the theoretical best possible rotation right there is as you're walking away, the XP globes start chasing you, so you left as early as possible while still getting the XP globes. But instead, he, like, kind of goes the wrong direction, stutters around a bit, flanks this way, and already overstays, and that makes him really late to this fight. Which means he goes for, like, this kind of awkwardly forced triple blink onto Hanzo. And that costs him blink charges right here when he's going in here. He definitely had a blink. Yeah, he had a blink this whole time. That's just late reaction speed, but I get it, you know? We all have that sometime. Oh, that's so unlucky. Hanzo stuck inside the ice wall. Yeah, I think that CPX just, like, his rotations out of bot lane, that's 2 out of 2 times have been, like, really, like, late and awkward. He's not, like, 100% sure where he's gonna go. And that can be, like, bad shot calling, that can be just, like, personal indecisiveness, that can be a lot of things. I don't know what the cause is, but the rotations are awkward. Really good flank onto Mei right here, absolutely love to see it. Super good. He kind of started tanking tower shots, like, a little early, but that's, like, a very minute positioning thing that's really easy to get wrong. Yep, here you want to clear out that minion wave, start working on those bombs as soon as possible. You can get started on that bottom healing fountain right here. That's just what I would go for right there immediately, is that bot healing fountain. But they're not contesting, so this ends up being better. Okay, they're just trying to get all the forts out of the way. Makes perfect sense. It's really hard to finish off that keep anyway. Ganking the Dahaka again... Ganking Dahaka into Brightwing just seems like super questionable. I thought they were prioritizing going for the fort, but instead they tried to pulse bomb a Dahaka who had burrow up and all 5 tower dive a Dahaka versus Brightwing with false down on his team. Like, everyone in the building knows that the enemy team has double global, and they know this is one of the hardest to gank characters in the game, and they know that this character, Brightwing, makes their teammates one of the hardest characters to gank in the game. This decision to go on Dahaka here seems like super questionable. I think it might have just been late reaction time by Lobber. That literally might just be Lobber ping. Because look at this. I feel like that's the call being made, and if Lobber isn't on ping, they might be able to chain CC to Haka down here. Because watch as we go in here. God dang it, I went past it again. Okay. So watch, IB Tings is gonna stun Nasmus, and then Lobber's gonna have like this bit of hesitation before he actually follows up, and that allows Dahaka to burrow and it fumbles the engage. I think that's a ping issue. Because like look at how close that Q was to hitting Dahaka, and imagine if it came like 100 milliseconds earlier, that might have been the difference. Even then, I still think it's rather forced. Especially because he would immediately get a Brightwing Z, like, yeah, Brightwing Z is off cooldown. I still think it's a bad idea, but I also think they fumbled the execution a little bit. Yeah, and then that, again, like, very consistently we're seeing just, like, CPX stands in the middle of the team, and that causes bad outcomes. It's like the third or fourth time where he was standing in the middle of his team, when just generally, as Tracer, your priorities are ensuring proper spacing for yourself, such as finishing this off, standing over on the side and finishing off this healing fountain, not standing with your team. And so because he's just trying to panic and get away from Dragon's Arrow, he gets caught right there by the ice wall. Oh, stay undrated, good stuff. He switches over to Nasmus. I think that's fine. He's kind of over blinking a lot, but it's not a big problem. Hasn't really caused anything negative yet. Missed that pulse bomb. What happened there? I missed that one. What happened with the pulse bomb? Yeah, see, and if he wasn't over blinking, like, I don't know if he was just trying to get shields out of jumper for a lot of that fight, but like, he wasn't in danger of dying at all, and he wasn't really in danger of like damage being traded on him earlier in the fight. So if he was blinking to try to like use jumper or juke out or something, it felt like a waste that honestly probably cost them this kill on this Mei right here. Because look at how low she gets, right? Like, if bomb hits, that Mei dies. Especially when you factor in the 70% slow, that Mei just straight up dies. So the over-blinking actually did end up costing them a kill. And then if you get a kill that's that staggered, that just buys you so much extra time to control the map. Yep, and now we're rotating around, just taking all the camps off the map. Saving our bruisers for during objective. Good stuff so far. Team is a little split about what we're doing. Okay. I think that bruiser camp, yeah, it was fine. I was gonna say it might have been slightly early, but it's fine. Because they just wanted to form up and have everybody group up and look for a pick right here. So the faster you get to that, the better. And then they're just racing this out at the moment. Yeah, especially with the Dahaka visibly clearing top. Like, you know you have 5 people on the race, they only have 4. You know you have a pretty solid race team. Not the best, but pretty good overall with Tracer Ming. I don't... Where was he going right there when he walked towards bottom? I feel like the rotations around the map, like, this is something... It reminds me of something I talk about with Lutano a lot. When I watch Lutano's Tracer, I'm always like, he's consistently where he needs to be on the map. Like, Lutano ganks when it's appropriate, he sieges when it's appropriate, he goes to camps at the right time, he split pushes at the right time. And I feel like that is like a key, like, so far, just the 2 big things. Like, CPX stands on top of his teammates, 3 big things. He stands on top of his teammates, he doesn't take free damage when he can, and his map rotations are kind of awkward. So I want to see, what happens here? He's like kind of dancing back and forth a bit, walking over towards bottom, walking back up, and losing a lot of valuable race time, and then using all 3 blink charges just to catch back up. It's super strange. To CPX's credit, I don't think I've seen him miss a lock and loaded yet. He's probably doing better than I usually do on my accuracy. And then, so like I said before, I only had 1 talent that I disagreed with for CPX this entire game. It was the Sticky Bomb. I think Heavy-Handed is absolutely the correct call this game. I think that basically Heavy-Handed is just super good for what his team wants to do. Like I said before, this is a team about single target burst. You are trying to just follow up on whoever your team CCs, and your team has a decent bit of CC. Usually whoever the Anubarak just goes in on, and you're trying to blow up that person to secure resets for Li Ming. And so in that case, like, bullet spray is wave clear and like a bit of spread damage. Ricochet is spread sustained damage, and heavy-handed actually, well, bullet spray is also good in that it makes sure that your W hits the correct target, which actually is very valuable in crowded environments because it only just hits the closest enemy, prioritizing heroes. So bullet spray can help you burst kill a target, usually not as much as heavy-handed, but can be very helpful sometimes, and is the pick when you already have armor reduction for the kill target. Ricochet is sustained spread damage, doesn't fit the idea of what the comp's really trying to do that well. Heavy-handed, on the other hand, heavy-handed really buffs what you're trying to do when you're just following up on your tank CC. I think heavy-handed is the correct 16 choice here. Here, I think that Storm throws a little bit by clearing this wave so fast. So what ends up happening is because they cleared that wave this fast, the waves are split, and the archers are in front. Whereas what Storm could have done instead was just walk up to this and kill all these archer minions. Like, kill this huge wave of archer minions, and then just leave those 3 melee minions out front, and that would have held these archer minions in place, and then these archer minions would have been added to this wave. Instead, these archer minions are going to go in front of this wave and just die. And you might be like, Mockery, does that really matter? And the answer is absolutely yes. To give you perspective, okay, on how much damage buildings do, or sorry, how much damage minions do to buildings, 3 ranged minions, okay? Just the amount that you get in one wave. 3 ranged minions hitting a building does more DPS than a human Greymane auto-attacking as often as possible with his W on. So literally a human sieging Greymane with W active just shooting on CD does less damage than these 3 ranged minions to buildings. And that's a lot of damage. So that absolutely does matter. I think they cleared this wave way too early, and their wave manipulation was bad right there. That's not strictly a Tracer-related thing, but I do think it matters. And so you're going to see these minions right here up front are just going to die. CPX just wants to be sieging this. I don't know why he's like so scared. Like, you're not going to die if that Brightwing polymorphs you. If that Brightwing polymorphs you, you're just going, yes, she wasted a CD, thank the Lord. But instead, like, he's kind of sitting back a bit. You want that side gate down as soon as possible. There you go. Like I said before, it just makes your spacing game so much easier. Free damage on the Dahaka. Playing super, super safe. And here, I kind of respect it. He just really doesn't want to int, and I get it. I think a little more aggression would have been a little warranted in trying to finish off the keep, but I can understand playing safe in that moment. Yeah, see, like, he doesn't trust himself at all to just ever be in tongue range versus Dahaka. Whereas, and if you play like that versus Dahaka, like, then you're just gonna get zoned out of everything. Ooh, 8 of full scatter. Yeah, versus Hanzo, you definitely would rather be not right up on that wall. In general, the only way you're really gonna get hit by a lot of arrows, by a lot of scatter arrows versus Hanzo, is if you're standing right next to a wall. Which is just the case for anybody, right? But especially with Tracer. Like, you don't... And it sucks because your spacing means you want to be on the side. So you have to find this sort of delicate balance of not standing within your team, but still not getting scattered. And that can typically mean just, like, not standing necessarily right here, but maybe, like, right here, you know? It's a delicate balance. At this point, it's another gank on the Dahaka, and I just can't help but feel like these are never going to work, you know? Like, I feel like Storm just keeps ganking a character that you can't really gank very effectively. But, whatever. It's not like they had much else to do in that time frame anyway. Here, I like this decision to just burn down very specifically that bruiser camp right there, get yourself some pulse bomb charge, set up your camp bot lane. And then now, if you're Storm, the enemy team straight up has to clear bottom. And that means that you get some 5v4 time on this objective right here. because they do not want to give up that keep. Yep, so there's a global bot, so they can look at aggressing onto the enemy team, because right now they're kind of just letting Nasmus free clear that camp. I feel like they could be playing a lot more aggro. Well, they know they have vision advantage, but red side playing it like super safe for some reason. It's like right here, like why not just free hit the Mei? You know what I mean? Like Mei is just standing in the front. There's no way you ever die doing it. And you're just missing out on so much potential hero damage. Like look at this Mei, she should not be allowed to do this. I don't know if you just like really want to die of a backliner or something. But like that's not going to work versus a team with Brightwing on it either. Like maybe if they had a healer also weak to dive. And so then right here, like I understand right here, he's just trying to follow up on a tank and just be completely out of enemy vision. Although he does get poked down right there just a little bit. He's just waiting for one of his tanks to do something so that he can follow up and try to blow up that target. And again, if you're playing that playstyle, especially if you're leaning into that playstyle this much, go Quantum Spike. Especially if you're into a team that has, you know, D-build Brightwing. Regardless, it worked out okay. They just poked out with Li Ming, kind of with impunity right there. Yep, you just take your camp, go back in. And see, like, that's what happens every time you just try to go in aggressively and, like, get up in melee range and all that versus Brightwing. You're just gonna get polyed. Well, like, it's not like it was a bad thing right there. Like, it didn't set up a kill. I'm just pointing it out. As in, just a management of expectations. Nasmus should never tongue you there. Yeah, you just blink out. He probably could have blinked up and killed Mei, but I don't blame him for panicking and blinking to the right. I think he could have blinked up and killed Mei, though. Ooh. You are in there. A little bit of unnecessary damage taken right there, in my opinion. Like, he's playing as if the only way he can play is to dive or follow up on his tank. And that's only what you're doing some of the time, right? Like, as Tracer, one of the really cool things about Tracer is that you deal sustained damage until there's a kill target. Like, you deal just a constant trickle of damage versus certain enemy frontline heroes, versus really just certain enemy comps in general, but especially their frontliners, if their frontliners have no point-and-click CC and just can't really deal with getting autoed down, like this frontline, it's just really weak to it. The cool thing about Tracer is that you're doing so much when you're not following up on a kill target, unless you're specifically trying to be hidden. And I do think at times it seems like CPX is trying to be hidden, but like it can't come at the cost of this much free damage on the enemy team. Like very consistently too far back. Yeah, so that's one of the places that has the most walls in the map versus a Hanzo. Eesh. So let's see this again, okay? So that right there was a bit of an early blink that wasn't 100% necessary. And then right there, that blink was 100% unnecessary, and now he's in too deep inside Falstad W, missing a blink. And then he just goes inside there, which is instant death versus a Hanzo. Yeah. So that's definitely one of the main issues. I should write these down. Give me a second, just so I remember them at the end. We've got clumping on top of others, too much, slow map rotations, bad sticky bomb pick, not getting enough free damage, and over blinking. Those are the 5 major issues I'm seeing so far this game. Okay, now we're just waiting for CPX to be back up. Game's about to end soon. And I actually did see how this game ended. It's pretty flashy. I liked it a lot. It was very entertaining. Yeah, at this point, Storm is just kind of getting run down, forced to run away. Ooh. Good damage by Rootsao, trying to get revenge. Yeah, no, Rootsao's putting in damage on these guys. Ooh, careful, buddy. Hop the wall. There you go, there you go. IB Tings, those are really good scatter. Yeah, from what I hear, Madara is like very consistently a great Hanzo. Alright, so now we got Tracer back in here again. Red side is just waiting. I'll speed that up just a bit to get through faster since it's a bit of downtime. And again, we're seeing this from what CPX's perspective was at the time. This is where he had his camera. It's like right there, like you could totally just chip on the Nasmus. Like he's gonna, right there, Nasmus was just like super free, just like begging to get free autoed down. And I think like he just doesn't trust himself to auto Dahaka at all without getting tongued, is what it has to be. Because rather than take all this free damage on this guy right here and taking the natural flank, CPX just goes in and clumps on top of his team right here. And then when he clumps in on top of his team, gets the wind tunnel, contagion, ice wall, and they all just go down. Yeah, and that's even a shatter too. That's kind of insane. I don't necessarily think that if CPX played this better, that they wouldn't have just gotten wrecked in the fight. But you can't really know how things would have shaken out if the team's positioning was different. This is just a violation of, again, what I said, like the biggest thing about Tracer is just like never stand on top of other people. Not your teammates, not your enemies. And he passes up on a pretty easy flank angle up here to threaten the back line, get some free damage on that guy, and be ready to follow up on anything the Anubrak does or Blaze does in favor of standing on top of his teammates, and gets caught in the same wombo that everybody else does. Whereas you almost wonder if things might have gone differently, if there was some kind of threat distracting them up here, or free damage, or anything. At minimum, it was the right thing to do. Oh my god, that that please. That ragdoll was so funny. Does it happen again if I rewind? Hold on, that ragdoll was so good. I have to see it again. That had some force to it. Hold on. I don't think the physics go the same way. I think it's kind of randomized a bit. Damn. That's pretty good. Best Hanzo and CCL in terms of W accuracy. Other aspects of the kit you could debate. Gotcha. Yeah, I'll leave that up to people that understand Hanzo better than I do. Like, I fully admit, you know what I mean? That, like, I just go auto attack Hanzo most of the time because it's easy. And then at this point, there's nothing to do. Game is just over. No way to defend against that. Okay. So, there's a decent bit to talk about there. Just to recap, I'm going to go through my notepad of the 5 big things that I think happened that game. And we'll just touch on those very briefly, and then that'll be it for today. So I'm looking at my notepad. Number 1, clumping on top of others too much. Just to explain this a bit more, if you clump on the enemy, you're eating free damage. If you clump on your teammates, then basically one of the really cool things about Tracer is that she forces the enemy team to sort of split their attention. You know, like, enemy team clumping is one of the easiest ways to beat them for a lot of comps, right? If enemy teams just clump for no reason. It's especially true in a Tracer. Tracer is kind of cool in that she never clumps with her team if she's played well, which is part of the reason why Maiev historically, even when like Maiev was dominating pro play, she still never had a good win rate into Tracer. Going against a team that is literally just blessed to always beat down a person in the clump. They have one person that's guaranteed never to join the clump because they don't want to be. Just makes it so much harder to wombo enemy teams. Tracer teams are some of the hardest to wombo. That was especially true when it was Tracer TAS, because TAS also would stand super far back. And so Maiev really would struggle into TAS Tracer teams because you had a backliner that would always stand super far away and an assassin that would always stand over on the side. So you could almost never catch like huge clumps of people. And that happened right there too. If you are standing away from your team, then the enemy team has to make a decision with their skill shots, which is either like with their skill shots and their abilities, especially skill shots though. If they choose to send skill shots at you on the side, max they hit one person, and it's kind of iffy if they'll even hit that one person at all. And then if they choose to send their focus over to your team, then they are not pressuring you out and you're getting free damage. And also at best, they're not hitting as big of a clump as they might be able to into other characters. So consistently CPX just eating a bunch of damage. When he was on the bot camp, he was standing on top of a whole bunch of players right in the middle of things. When he was approaching enemy immortal, funneling in through the same way as all his teammates. When he gets womboed at the end of the game right here, he's just standing on top of everybody on his team. Number 2, slow map rotations. This played out 2 or 3 times with consistently bad effects. They forced him to overblink once he got into the fights to try to catch up suddenly. I don't know if that's a communication issue, personal indecisiveness, whatever, but slow map rotations kind of awkwardly sort of dancing around. 3, bad sticky bomb pick. Again, one thing to remember, guys, is that any stasis effect in the game removes pulse bomb. Other than Dahaka's isn't real stasis because he's still on the map, unlike every other stasis. But like, for example, Mei, he's I don't know, Dahaka's a weird thing. He has like pseudo stasis. Mei's doesn't, I don't know exactly off the top of my head either. Mei actually does not release remove pulse bomb, but like, for example, if Brightwing had taken the 16 timeout, if Brightwing times out while a pulse bomb is on her, that pulse bomb just disappears, for example. I was using that to demonstrate why stasis would be good in a pulse bomb, but just like look at this enemy team for a sec, just like we talked about before. Dahaka can burrow to avoid the E explosion. The bomb will still be attached to him because his bomb is his burrow is only pseudostasis, I believe, so I don't think it gets rid of the bomb. So I think Dahaka can just shrug off Sticky Bomb basically whenever he wants. Sticky Bomb can only be used whenever Cryo Freeze isn't on cooldown, because otherwise it's just going to get completely ignored by Cryo Freeze and cleansed by Cryo Freeze. And of course you're picking it in a D build Brightwing, who just has really high uptime on D and has her healing buffed when her teammates are slowed. So Sticky Bomb, in my opinion, super troll. Number 4, not getting enough free damage, just always standing super far back. Enemy tanks are just brazenly stepping up and just being not damaged. And number 5, over blinking. Just in general, CPX blinks when it's not really necessary, and then all of a sudden he wants to play aggro, or he wants to escape or to dodge an ice wall, and he just doesn't have the mobility to do it anymore because he's blinking when it's not really necessary. And those are the 5 big things that I noticed this game. Overall, I do like the draft a lot. I think that this is probably very winnable. If some of those things were different. And there was a lot that I thought was good. Like I said, I agree with the entire rest of the talent tree. I agree with the draft. But that was the stuff that stuck out to me. Alrighty, friends, that's going to be it for the replay review. I'm going to see if we have any games that we could potentially hop into. Otherwise, that might just be it. Might be a little short, little 2-hour stream tonight. Spooky Sundays with Leon. They are level 3 currently, less than 2 minutes into that game, and that might be just about one of the only games being played at our MMR right now, so I think that's gonna be it for us tonight, folks. Sorry that we couldn't do more. Great technical analysis. I'm curious as to what CPX did specifically well. Thoughts? Sure, we can think about that for a second before we wrap the stream up. CPX demonstrated a good willingness to follow up on the tank when they would go in, which is a very important part about Tracer, because like I was saying before, and I'll just be in queue, just if it pops while we're talking about this, then cool. If not, that'll be it. CPX demonstrated a good willingness to go in on whoever his team was going in on. The problem was what he was doing when he wasn't doing that, or after he followed that call. Because, like, you can see bottom, I was talking about when he was on the Siege Giant camp, he was getting really good pressure on the Brightwing. As soon as his teammates were going on Brightwing, he followed up instantly, and then right after, kind of just sort of independently got a little scrambled in his own way. And you know, a lot of Tracers, you're getting free damage until there's a kill target that you want to go in on. Something that I've fallen into in the past as a sort of bad habit here and there, especially when I've been playing SL all day and, you know, versus like these diamonds and uncoordinated players and whatnot, is that sometimes some Tracer players get too caught up in the trap of just dealing free damage when there's someone that they need to be helping their team kill. He definitely does not have that problem. I think he has the exact opposite problem in that when there is not an objective of what his team to do, I think it's a little questionable, but when his team is going in on someone, he is like undeniably following up on that kill target. And I think that was really good by CPX, and something that in general a lot of DPS players, Tracer or not, tend to lack that target focus. Like I said, other than the sticky bomb, I thought the rest of the Tracer talent build was really good. I think he picked the exact correct choice on all of the rest of the talents other than 10. I think he did a good job not really ganking Dahaka in the laning phase when it would be an absolute waste of time to do so. So that was a good recognition of where he needed to be on the map in the early game. And I'd say that's the stuff he did well that time. And that's stuff that a lot of Tracer players mess up. So like, good for him, you know? Okay. It does not look like we're going to get a game, so I'm going to go ahead and call it there, friends.